What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Dan, and welcome to the Book Report here on the Random Media Guys channel. Book Report show we talk about books, all kind of books, science fiction, fantasy, drama, thrillers, great books. I found these books interesting, and I think you might find them interesting too. So for this week, we are concluding our Mars Trilogy review as part of Mars March. And yes, I am wearing blue for this book, which is Blue Mars. Now, Blue Mars picks up right after where we left off on Green Mars, and I'll explain the plot in a minute. You're ready to check out Blue Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. So the book picks up, as I said, right where Green Mars left off. You have the main kind of people. You have on a train to Sheffield. You got Anne, you got Sax, Maya, and Yergal, all on the way to Sheffield. Now, Sheffield, here's why it's important. Sheffield's the town on Pavonis Mons, that's one of the bigger mountains on Mars, where the space elevator is. And the reason why it's important is because UNTA, UN, basically police, are held up there. This is their kind of last stand area. And many of them gone up the elevator, and the Reds, the anti-terraforming faction, who's part of the Martian Liberation Front right now, wants to basically destroy the cable. And they're like, no, you can't do that. They're like, why not? They're going to take our culture. And they have to go Kase, who's the leader of the most radical faction, the Kakazi. Go, dude, you need to chill out. Now, for those who don't remember, Kase is Jackie's father. He's also the son of John Boone, and technically he's the half brother of Nergal. Like, dude, just chill out. We're gonna talk to the UNTA guys. We're gonna make a deal. So Maya and Nadia are trying to make a deal with the guys up top. Turns out the commander of the unit actually was their mission control commander back when they colonized Mars. And they're like, dude, we got it. We're gonna work it out. You know, you can stay up there for now. We're gonna make sure she's around. We'll even send him some supplies. It's like, fine, but Say is like, no, fuck it. We're not gonna allow them to take their culture. It's like, but my culture, man. And they try to detonate the cable, which is dumb because it's made of like graphene and diamond coated, so it's pretty tough. And the anti guys basically send like lasers and bullets down, and Kasei ends up dead. D-E-D, dead. So Jackie is like, no, Dad! And Anne's like, oh, damn, now we need to cut this out. We need to stop the Reds from. She grabs his communication bracelet and says, okay, Reds, chill the fuck out and retreat. Like, the Greens have their day. For those who don't remember, Greens are the ones who are pro terraforming. So that they said, okay, now that we've gotten this done, now that we've basically liberated Mars, we're free. We need to sit down and actually make a legitimate government. It's not like Moon's a harsh semester. It's like we need to become legitimate, present ourselves. So they start doing a continental congress. One of the things they bring up was the Dorfshire Breviary Accord that they mentioned in the previous book. And they're like, okay, we're going to do that just like in Moon's a harsh semester. Like, we need to send representatives. So they send Maya, Sax, Michelle, and Nergal. They mainly choose Nergal because he's kind of the face of the Free Mars. He's kind of a young face, and he's exciting, and he's very charismatic. So like, we'll send him. He'll be woo Earth into saying, okay, yeah, free Mars, yeah, got it. So Nadia and Art kind of stay behind and start working on the government. But they go to Earth, and they go to Trinidad and Tobago. This is mainly because Coyote was from Trinidad, and they're like, you know, this would be a great thing. You know, you go down there, Nergal, because your dad's and you're a great face, and they basically having carnival. Afterwards, they go to Geneva and Switzerland. Now, the big thing is they explain while they're in Trinidad is Trinidad, along with many other coastal areas, are being inundated after. In the previous week, we had the West, I believe the West Antarctic ice sheet basically got melted by volcanic activity. So they're dealing with that problem. England's kind of largely underwater, although they still have land. It basically becomes swamp, like Mississippi or Louisiana, except for it's colder. So Nergal goes in. He's giving a speech to UN, saying, we're here. We're gonna work with you guys. We're gonna help take care of this overpopulation problem happening because when they got the gene treatment got to Earth, a lot of it only went to the haves and not the have-nots, so it caused basically a genetic kind of classism. It's like, we'll help take away some of your problem, which later on you find out kind of scares some of the Martian natives. Like, dude, what are you doing? They're gonna mess with our culture. They're gonna take it and change it. There's a bit of xenophobia. So Nero's like, you know what? I'm not quite feeling at home. Maybe I should go because Earth's atmosphere is a little thicker than Mars. Gravity's little. This is 3 times the amount. She's like, I think I'm gonna go for hikes. So he goes hiking in the Alps, and on his way back, he runs across a British guy who says, "Hey, I think I saw your mother in London." He's like, "Wait, what? Hiroko's alive?" You see, what happened? I kind of first this is they got a report back from one of these cities during the revolution that Hiroko had likely been killed because the city that she was in had a collapse, the ceiling collapse. So, you know, Hiroko, for all intents and purposes, was dead. And he's kind of set off on this wild goose chase. He goes to Britain looking for her, finds out she's not there. He hangs out with some Brits, does some salvage work, and he comes down with a fever. Now, this apparently they think that this might be due to the fact he's not used to Earth, both the gravity, the air, and possibly the fact that there's not chemicals, there's diseases that maybe he doesn't have immunity, and plus this whole like inundation might be brings up a whole kind of different atmosphere that we're not used to. Meanwhile, Michelle decided, I'm gonna go home to Provence, which is where he was before. Turns out in Provence he's kind of a local hero because he's the first Frenchman on Mars. He meets up with his nephew. He calls up Maya. He's like, Maya, hey, come down to Provence. She's like, I'm busy. Eventually, after Pester, she comes down. At this point, we hear from Sax. He says, hey, Nergal's sick. We need to go back up to the ship. So they ride up the space elevator, and they're going, okay, we need to get back to Mars because clearly Earth kind of talks to him, which I know it's weird. So they go back to Mars. It takes a couple of months because currently their propulsion isn't super advanced. They get back to Mars. Turns out they worked out how the government's going to work. One of the things they did is they kind of modeled the government set up after Switzerland. They have a 7-body council, so on and so forth. There is a government body that is elected, and the other one that is basically done by lottery. Basically, hey, it's your time to go. It's like jury duty, except for it's like Congress duty. Hey, it's your turn to go be part of the Senate. Oh, so they find out how the economics work. Everything's kind of done as a employee-owned business. There's a lot of stuff they go into. They even kind of explain how this thing kept like. There's a scene where Vlad, the guy who was the chief geneticist, gets an argument with a guy over anarcho-capitalism versus communism. He's like, we shouldn't like capitalism isn't the best system. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. She goes in, and he gets accused of being a communist. He's like, whoa, 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 step back. I was like, I'm old enough to be. I lived in the Soviet Union. I hated that shit. Don't ever call me a commie. He got pissed. So they found their government, and then it kind of becomes the adventures of the last of the first 100 plus a new character gets introduced. And by the way, this whole story from now to the end takes over an entire century. It really is that long. So first, we get kind of what happens with Anne and Sax. Anne kind of becomes slightly suicidal. Still, she stopped taking the gene treatments. She's kind of watching the world become more terraformed. She runs into some radical reds, and who want like, yeah, we're gonna blow up these pumping stations, and we're gonna destroy these air things. Like, whoa, no, we can't be terrorists anymore. Like, why not? Because it's stupid, and we're gonna use that instead. We should become a kind of a legal group. So they kind of, instead of being going, we're gonna blow it up, they instead start becoming very litigious. They start going after any kind of thing that deals with expansion into things they're not supposed to, like more like deeper drillings into to get out more water or stuff like that. So they basically go, because the part of the Constitution establishes an environmental court that basically deals with all these kind of stuff. So she kind of starts doing that. Sax goes back to doing being a lab rat. That's like refer to him as. He actually is talking to one of his colleagues, or I guess one of his students, or what do you want to call one of the scientists, and they ended up developing a new type of fusion drive, which basically is so portable you can put in a starship, basically cutting down transportation time between Earth and Mars, and basically opening up the whole solar system. So that becomes a big thing later on. Anyway, eventually Sax is like, I need to go track down Anne, and he finds her in a red refuge, and he's like, hey, I care about you. We should, talk. You're one of the last of the. I think last time there's only like 20 or 25 of the first 100. She's like, we were friends, and I consider you a friend. We should make up. And at one point, while they're doing they're hiking, and eventually she collapses, and it turns out she's having a heart like arrhythmia, and it's treatable uh, through the gene treatment. But it turned out she decided to have a DNR, or do not resuscitate. And he's like, fuck that, I'm her friend. She's clearly, you know, depressed, and therefore has the inability to make this decision. So he sneaks the treatment to her through Coyote and Michelle, and gets her, all better again. She kind of regrets it. And then we learn about Nergal. He's first he just says, when he gets back, I want to start a farm, do what they call ecopoiesis, which is like small level terraforming. Like, let's make a farm. Let's add foxes. Let's add chickens. Let's add dogs and stuff to help. They figure that on a smaller level it'll help out with the terraforming. And so he finds out his potatoes are infected. And he realizes, you know what? Maybe this sedentary life's not for me. So he starts a kind of he becomes like a long distance like runner, like long distance. Like he literally runs across the equator of Mars because Mars actually has enough landmass. You can do that. At this point, we meet someone new. We meet Zoe, who is Jackie's daughter. She joined what they call feral co-op, which basically they do wild hunting and wild growing of stuff. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. And then we kind of flash forward. See, at this point, they've installed the new fusion drives onto starships, and Zoe basically starts working for Jackie. See, Jackie became kind of the queen bee in terms of politics. See, when they first set up the government, they were working on. She was one of the bigwigs. Now she was kind of contested because Nanjia got tapped, said, "Hey, we want you to join the executive council," and I was like, damn it, I just want to go and build. That's what she likes doing. And I was like, don't worry, I'll help you out. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll join the council. They're like, actually, we also want you to be president of the executive council. It's like, No, I got no time for me. Because Nadja eventually stepped down and stopped being on the executive council, Jackie kind of assumed the mantle of powerful center. And we learned a few things. For one thing, the Martians in charge are becoming more and more xenophobic. They're restricting access. Now, the big tension is over almost that Nero made back at the beginning, that they should take about 10% of Mars population as Earth refugees. So 10%. So whatever their population is, 10% of it could be brought. Refugees could be brought over, which a lot of people are becoming very, they don't want them people coming over to Mars and forgot my house and my space core. So we learned that Mars kind of has become the center of power because Earth is still dealing with the accident, the flood, and the overpopulation. Zoe Rengus goes to Mercury and works out some deals. Find out that as part of a thing that Sax did for Anne, he sent this giant reflector that was floating in space, was sending extra sunlight to speed up the terraforming process to Venus to reflect the light away so they could speed up terraforming. And Venus they're working on getting it started, including laying down what they call a Dyson motor, which is basically a Dyson space motor is basically the idea of attaching metal to a planet and basically sitting at magnetic things past it to speed it up because Venus is kind of freaking slow spin. So at this point, Zoe meets up with Sax, and there's some Sax. I know, I misspoke on purpose. And he basically talks and said, "Hey, maybe you should take Anne because she's become very introverted." And she says, "Oh, fine, I'll take her out. I'm going to the Jovian moons and going to Neptune and checking out those moons." Because by this time, those areas are being colonized. The asteroid belt's being colonized, and they kind of have their thing. Zoe doesn't like Anne because she's kind of cold. So they get back. We find out that Zoe likes to fly. She has a bird suit, not like a chicken suit, but like one of those things that you put strap on and you go. Shh. And she has an unfortunate, I guess you call it hang gliding death. She gets in an accident, dies, and this kind of breaks Jackie. She leaves politics, and she decides that she's not going to stand around Mars anymore because she decides that because of the new fusion drive, they're working on possibly building asteroids that are generational ships that'll go out to other planets. And I don't mean our planets here. I mean other stars. Now Nergal's like, no, don't go, Jackie. Oz loves you because we're cousins. And she's like, no, there's nothing here for me, and she leaves. And so we now shift to a big lieutenant. Now, apparently, despite the fact, again, I mentioned in the previous book that the gene treatment doesn't affect is having trouble between like the brain and the bone. So a number of the first generation are beginning to forget things. They seem to have a form of dementia. So Sax was like, well, fuck, we need to get this stuff done. I need to figure out what's wrong. Because there's been this thing called the quick decline going on where people seem to be forgetting and then suddenly they just drop dead. So he's like, well, maybe there's a link between the brain and the death. And so he starts doing research. He figures out maybe how to restimulate memories. He basically grabs what's left of the 1300 because first, like, Vlad dies and one of the other guys. And the sad part is one of their friends dies. They're at his house. Maya walks out because she's having one of her where she forgets and walks out. Apparently startles Michelle. He just drops dead. And apparently you see that a lot of the paramedics are dealing with this are just I can't deal with this. I'm tired of trying to save these people and them dying. So Sax works out and says maybe if I hit the brain with, gobbledygook. And they say, the best place to do is a place we all kind of have connections. They go back to Underhill. By this time we get in Mars is like breathable air with a need of a minor genetic modification. How about with high carbon dioxide? but they're hanging out in under. Oh, Sax is like, okay, we'll take this drug, and here are these headphones. They'll help stimulate the brain. Now Maya says, I'm not going to do it. He's like, but why? And she's like, you know what? Even though I'm crazy, I'm happy being crazy. So they all take the drug. They all start literally like just having like waves of memories come back. And something we learn interesting is that Saxon and were a thing. They could have been more of a thing, but during their selection process, they interpreted something. They kind of, oh, I thought you didn't like me, kind of thing, and they kind of start up a very heroism at a very old age. I'm talking about these guys in their late hundreds, 190s. And Sax like, you know what? I got this new boat. Let's go out throughout the sea and have fun. Because why not? They're now in love. They get on, when they get on Sax, they go throughout the Northern Sea. They go up to one of the islands, and turns out there's this like Olympic style thing. Nergal's participating. He's doing this like long ass run, and as they've been reviewing the news, something comes up. See, Earth's getting pissed at Mars because of the very much xenophobic attitudes of the legislative and executive. So Nadja and Maya and Peter, Anson are like, you know what? That's it. We're tired of it. We're tired of you kids messing up. So they grab everyone and they're like, we're gonna go do a vote of no confidence and basically oust all these assholes. And Peter gets elected president and all that stuff. Like, awesome. Art and Nadja finally have a kid. I know they're ancient and they have a kid through the echogenesis. By the time the story and her kid is in her 40s, and she's like, what, 200? So it's one of those like weird things. The story kind of ends on one of those like, and they're at the beach. It's kind of an after story. Anne and Sax are together. Maya's just there, and Nergal and Sax pop up. It's one of those like, oh, we're gonna have a reunion. And at one point, you think Anne might be going through the quick decline. She's gonna drop dead, but turns out not to be. It's one of those like, oh, Anne's gonna die, and she doesn't. And that's Blue Mars, and that's also the end of the Mars trilogy. Now, there are other books dealing on the same kind of timeline. There's The Martians, which is basically like short stories dealing with it. There's also another one by him called 2312, and that's kind of takes place like 100 years after this, although not in a quite same timeline. So if you want to read more of his stuff, you actually checked this book out. Go ahead. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give this thing a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of our content. We release videos once a week, maybe twice a week even, and we would love that if you didn't miss any of them. My name's Dan, and that you have yourself a wonderful day. Peace.